Welcome. My name is Hannah Levin. I'm the program coordinator for senior services with the city. It's my pleasure to welcome you here today, our second day of the Dialogue on Death and Dying, our third annual, and we've had some really lovely and insightful workshops this week and more to come tomorrow. So I just want to thank you all for joining us and for being a part of the conversation. I'd like to start by acknowledging that Westminster is on the unceded and unsurrendered land of the Hackman speaking people. So I encourage you all, and myself, to take some time to reflect on what that means. Without further ado, actually I should go on. I just want to acknowledge as well all of the individuals that are involved in making the dialogue happen. So Marianne from Century House Association Peer Support. All of our wonderful Century House Association Peer Support CHAPS volunteers who are here today. Daniel, who is our tech support, and he makes this all happen. He sits on our committee and he does all of our tech. And then also the U.S. Hospice. I don't know if there's anyone here from Hospice today. If you are, please raise your hand. But the Westminster Hospice Society as well. So without further ado, I'll introduce Janice Bannister. Janice has been running our Zoom comedy programs at Century House for a long time, several years now. And so this event today was a result of our Zoom program. All right.
Thank you, Hannah. The Zoom was started because of that weird bug we all got called COVID, where nobody could leave the house. So, but yeah, we kept going, and it works out great. A lot of times for programming, certainly people can, take the program from anywhere they live, and also whatever mood they're in, because sometimes they show up without their pants. So whatever. So I'm going to get started, but before I do, I want to give you all an exercise to do, because I think we all need it. What do you know? I'm not doing an exercise? You're in the front row, you've been here for almost an hour, you're doing the exercise, okay? Now it isn't a push-up, and I'm not going to make you jog on the spot. I'm going to get you to breathe. I want you to breathe in, hold it, and breathe out. And close your eyes if it makes you feel more comfortable. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. And one more time. Breathe in. Hold it. And breathe out. Let's let all the stuff that went on in the last few days and weeks and all the commotion that's been going on in our world, and just let it go, because we're going through some tough times here, but today you're going to get to laugh, because you're going to hear about death and dying. What more fun can you have, right? So just to give you, how did this show come to be? And the powers that be that were doing the programming for this kind of thought we needed something a little more lighthearted. And as Hannah said, they came to me and said, hey, how about doing a comedy show for this symposium that we're doing? I'm like, yeah, sure. It's about death and dying. Okay, let's do that. But we did it, and it's you're going to love the storytellers involved. I will tell you this. I originally wanted to do a thing called, you guys all remember the Newlywed Game back, right? I wanted to do a game show called the Nearly Dead Game. And so I started to do some research, and as I was doing all this research, I discovered a woman somewhere in the United States actually has made a game called the Nearly Dead Game. And she goes around to conferences much like this and everything, so I kind of did some correspondence with her. She has a game board, and, not a board, but the cards that she sells and everything, so keep that in mind for next year, right? Because it's more about learning what your partner or your friend or your neighbor or somebody wants with their wishes. You don't know what's so-and-so's favorite color. Who cares? How do they want to be buried, right? You want to know some more about that. So stay tuned for that one. Sometimes the stories that you're going to hear today may trigger you. I'm going to use that word, but you know what? That's where you can bring that breathing back and take a little breath and everything. Or if you're, challenged by the story, feel free to leave the room or just cry or laugh. Because I'll tell you, when this program started on day one, when everybody introduced themselves and started to pitch their stories to each other, we had a lot of tears, and we had a lot of choking up, and that just kind of built over the weeks. We went from lots of tears to less choking up to lots of laughter and lots of fun. And the neat thing about the people that are behind me here, they had just met each other for the first time, and I forgot that because when the two gentlemen arrived, they were the first to arrive because they figured it's like the school dance, they have to sit on that side while the ladies sit over there. But they basically, oh, are you Ken or are you Guy? It was really interesting. I was like, oh my God, I forgot, we've never really met. Actually, Guy I've never met in person. I think I've met all the others in person, but. So it's a big step for them to come out of the screen and into the live showcase here, right? And I love the fact that there's a lot of the kind of variety of demographics in the room, but I always like it when I have a lot of women in the room, because women, because women, we like to get together and laugh, right? We laugh, and then we cry, and then we pee a little bit. It's always really fun, right? The men, I don't know what they do, but I know that they get together more often now, and there have social things going on. But I told you how this class came to be, and then the other thing about it, we started off with 13 people. So, but you can see today, as of now, we only have basically the 5 storytellers that remain. But every story that isn't here also has a story. And I'll give you an example. So, Meredith, who canceled this morning because she's been sick since the weekend, said, I want to be there, I can't. But her story was about being a newly minted widow. Her story was called Seize the Muffin, which was an experience that she and her husband, Jason, went through in the hospice. And it was really interesting. Do you know we learned that in hospice, the musical therapists have Yelp reviews? Who knew, right? The guy who was doing the music therapy said, if you want to give your review on Yelp, let me know. Wow, right? So we all learned something there. Her husband, actually, Jason, was a stand-up comic who I performed with over the years, so personally I had a bit of a connection there as well. So she's missing out the show. Dolane, who shared a story about deadlines, was the name of her title, and she was talking a lot about how families have conflict in dealing with estates. Everybody like, oh, I know what she means, right? And she lost 6 people over a short period of time, and there was a lot of just challenges within that. And she prepared a story. She stuck with us for almost to the end, and then said, it's too raw still, because she had just lost her brother this year, so she unfortunately couldn't be, but she's got her story. Bonnie shared her story about her friend who she loves, but was a very challenging friend. She called the story Dandelion because she felt that she had such tough roots within her. And Bonnie couldn't be here because she's taken many classes from me, but guess what? She lives in Edmonton, so, the budget wasn't there to fly her in. Things happen, right? Frankie's story about double death destiny was basically about the fact that at 26 years old, she had died once already. They brought her back to life. She carried on with her life, but just recently she's been given a serious diagnosis and probably is on a limited span left in her life, but and would have been here again if she could medically be able to be here. So, and then the other person that was missing today is Aaron. And this is how Aaron introduced. This is. Time's up. This is how Erin introduced herself to all of us. I don't know if I'll be alive when the show takes place. Right? There we go. And we all went, ooh, what's that about? Right? And I actually have known Erin for years and years and years. She's been a storyteller around the comedy community, etc. So I was a little bit choked up myself because I realized that I didn't know anything about this. But what she told us was that she had been diagnosed with what she called CCMD, so I don't remember all the initials, but basically it's a type of leukemia. And what she wanted us to know is when she went to her doctor and the doctor gave us this diagnosis, the first thing he said to her was, I don't know much about this, I suggest that you Google it. She said she knew right then and there she was in trouble. She did Google it, she did follow it up, and things carried on, and it became a bit of a project. And every week she would show up on the screen, and she would be at a different level of energy, etc. And then in week 4, right? She said to us, guess what? I'm getting a bone marrow transplant. I definitely won't be at the show because today she's going to her testing to make it all the stuff preps for her bone marrow transplant. So that's a good news, right? So nobody died in the making of the show is really what I'm trying to tell you. But it was challenging. There were a lot of ups and downs, but and Erin has a message for all the other performers that I'll share in a little bit. But first of all, I'm going to get the story going, or the show going, and I'm going to bring up your first storyteller / comic for the day. Please give a walk. And your dog. We have a dog in the front row.
She's really calm, so I'm
Okay.
Sojko.
Welcome to the stage, Rosemary Sojko.
Thank you. I may pause for a water break. Larry, Curly, and Moe. I'm not talking about the Three Stooges. I'm talking about my goldfish. These little guys were with me for almost 10 years. I know, I had a fish comm going on here. But one by one, they were failed by an awful parasite called ick. It was icky. I just stood there helpless, looking into the tank, whispering sweet nothings to them. Oh, come on, Larry, keep going. Curly, keep swimming. Oh, but meanwhile, they're probably looking at me thinking, lady, I'm a fish. I can't even find my fish flakes half the time. So one by one they passed, and one by one I put them in the freezer. Next to last week's leftover lasagna. I didn't have time right then and there for a proper burial, so I thought I'll just wait. And then I started worrying. What if death started knocking on my door? What if my family found my frozen fish brigades? Can you imagine? I could just see them now. Oh my God, she really was on a tight budget, wasn't she? Or she really was into bizarre sushi. That really motivated me to get the burial happening real soon. So I took my little frozen fishy friends down to Foreshore Park on the banks of the Fraser River. I stood there. I spoke and shared heartfelt, soulful memories. And then I released them into the water. And because they were frozen, they were like fish sickles. So they're bobbing on the water. Just bobbing. And it was kind of a poetic moment until I heard a screeching sound. All of a sudden, I saw this flock of seagulls coming in, zooming in for the fish buffet. my precious little fishies. Oh. You never know how it's going to end, do you? You really don't know how it's going to go. But then, my little precious frozen fishicles started me thinking about something deeper. Because they had been with me through breakups, health issues, job challenges, the caring and the loss of loved ones. And I'm thinking, oh my God, those fishies. Like all of a sudden I realize the older I get, it seems like I'm collecting a collection of obituaries, and my wall of memorials are growing even longer. I've lost my brother, my parents, my aunts, my uncles, my friends, colleagues. You just never know when your expiration date is going to happen. Whether you're young, whether you're old, we just don't know. And then, through the little frozen fishies that were my friends, I had another deeper thought. It's the universe telling me, just enjoy and appreciate the moment. Appreciate the memories. And I will make this confession in public. I will leave a little space in the freezer next to last week's leftover Wiener Schnitzel.
Give it up for Rosemary doing her story called What's Your Expiration Date? So we started off kind of gentle. We were just talking about pets, and then it gets a little deeper as we go. Welcome your next performer to the stage. Give it up for Kuhn, who'll be doing his story called Jerry and the Kidneys.
Well, here's Jerry. Who's Jerry? Jerry is my left kidney. I call him Jerry because he's always thought he was on the wrong side of me. And I named him after Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lee Lewis was called the Killer. My Jerry has tried to kill me 3 times. First time, I was about 15, and if you've ever had a kidney stone, you know that it really hurts. You know what it was? All curled up, lasted for about 2 hours, and then it was gone. Good thing. Well, Jerry was not about to leave me alone. 2014, I had the same kind of experience, a little bit more intensely, heard a lot, and crunched together on the floor, and goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Went to emerge. I live on the North Shore, so it was Lions Gate, and all went pretty well. Went to my urologist after, and he said, "You've got to drink more." Now, I don't happen to drink alcohol much, and I don't really like water, so I said, "I know. I'll pee less." Or more. And not in the shower, not in the swimming pool. And it worked pretty well until 2020. Now, this time, same Jerry's on my left side, my wrong side. He's beginning to act up, and I'm thinking, oh, we'll wait a day or two, you know, I'm just 15. It'll pass. And of course it didn't. And the next day, it's pain to the max. And when you get that kind of pain, you begin to hallucinate. You don't really know where you are or who you are. And you know, I called my daughter, and she called 911. And you know, an ambulance looks a lot different from the inside than it does from the outside. Not quite as flashy. So got unloaded in emergency, and this is the middle of COVID. So see the doctor, and he said, well, you've got to pee. Gotta pee more. Can't pee. And the nurse said, I do a catheter, those lovely catheters, but I just don't have time. I think if I had been 15, she might have found time. So, they emerge, the curtains part, and there's this guy, looks like Hulk Hogan, grabs the, I think, is he gonna make me pee? Pretty strong looking guy. He grabs the foot of the bed, wheels me off into isolation. They don't know whether I have COVID or whether I don't. And there was no real test for it. So they have a group of doctors gathered together. What's a group of doctors called? A conference. And it turns out that they have this new quick test for COVID. I don't have it, fortunately. Got about 2 hours. You know, everything's gone septic. Connected to all these fancy antibiotics. And because I didn't have it, was off to the midnight ride to surgery. I kind of remember a little bit here and there, but not much. Back in isolation, things begin to improve. I fill this yellow, this jar with purple colored gunk. Now, purple isn't exactly my color. It turns out that the sepsis responds to the antibiotics, and by morning, it's not the end of the road. It's getting better. So I look at my toe, and I don't see a little tag on there. With a scan code, you know, and I'm not shoved into one of those chambers. And so, you know, things look pretty good. And I'm careful not to pee in the shower too often. But about 5 years later, 2000, this was at that time, came home, and you know, you adjust when you get older. So I sit at my, I've got a blue wing-back chair that I really like, and I have a channel changer, got a cell phone, and a spoon. And you know, you learn things. One of them is, you can't change channels with a spoon. And, you know, you can't make calls either. So, Jerry and I have made peace with each other. And even though he's on my left side, he's on the right side of me now. I'm hoping that Jerry kind of leaves me alone, and he's agreed. He said he's going to save the last dance for me.
That was Ken. Good work, Ken. Woo! Can you hear in the back on this? Everybody's good? Okay, is there any way, I've got a big voice, but is there any way to turn the mic up for the performers? Huh?
I think it's maxed out, but
Okay.
check it right away.
Do that, because I noticed.
Good.
Yeah, adjust the microphone.
Okay, we're at max. We're going to keep going with the show. Welcome your next performer. Give it up for Marylee Stephenson doing her story. Who to and how.
I know I'm gonna die. I don't, yeah, this is very flat.
Just keep
And you're here, you can hear it okay?
Yeah.
Right, good. Okay, so I know I'm gonna die, because like I've read about it, you know, I'm 81, so demographically, I know it's gonna happen. And I've done all the right things. I have a will. I have what do you call them, the people who, oh yeah, the power of attorney? I think from it's I have one of those, and there's other things that are even more complicated that they can decide that really you don't know how to take care of your finances and so forth. So I've got it all set up. And the Pois lives just in my building, just the door down. And we ran into each other not long ago in the laundry room. We're very clean people where I live. And she says to me, you gotta make your list. You know, so what list are you talking about? She said, well, you are 81. And people, you're gonna have to let people know, and this is the digital age. So you're gonna have to do this. And I'm thinking, does she know something I don't know in terms of the timing? You can't be sure. So she said, yes, you have to do this. And because it's digital, there's gonna be people that are gonna wanna know for various reasons that you're gone. And so you have to think about what you wanna say to go out there, and who you wanna say it to, and what the content will be. And I said, well, don't you do that? You're the Pois. She said, no, that's not my job. So she said, in terms of who it is or what it is, I started thinking about this, and I have to write this down because I am fucking 81, okay? So I was thinking to whom it all goes, and there's sort of 3 types, or 3 degrees of closeness. We're in BC, so think of one of those big logs that's been cut, you know? And so you got in the center, you got the heartwood, and you think, okay, well, there's those people that I want to know and communicate in a certain kind of way. And then as you move out the concentric circles, you may be doing well, maybe you've had little irritating moments here and there, but you know, they're there, you know them, you want them to know in their own way. And then there's the ones, you know, like way out there. They're just under the bark. You know, it's not nearly as appealing. They're just there. But there could be, and if you've got, like I do, I've got 3 Facebooks, I've got a couple of websites, I have my YouTube channel, which I can tell you about later. And so, yeah, I have all those things happening, and so the ones just under the bark could be numerous. So we start thinking about that, and she says, and you again, you have to be a content creator. Because this is the digital age, and you can't just be somebody who writes something down, right? You have to be a content creator. So given the various degrees of closeness, shall we say, and that it could be hundreds of people things went out to, what am I going to say and how? So I thought about this, and I'm doing this because I hope to God I've got it in my mind. I do. So I started writing it down. I'm writing down because you can write this way on your computer, and you can cut and paste. Is that a blessing or what? And so I'm going to read these to you, all right, because I can't memorize them. And then here it is, for instance, for the Heartwood people. Okay, you ready for this? The Heartwood people. And it will come from her, from the Pois. And she's saying, I have to tell you that wonderful Marylee has passed on. As you will well know, she was brilliant, devilishly attractive. A fashion icon, and had millions of friends, among whom there is you, whatever the grammar is. I know you will want to come to the celebration of life. Bring Kleenex, share stories over limp chips and flat soda water. Form your own Zoom webinar group. Empathy and mindfulness are guaranteed. And bring stories of how Marylee changed your life for the better, for the better. So that would be for your hardwood people. You move out a ways. And this is what I call the ambivalent portrait, or the portrayal for the ambivalent. This message is to tell you that Marylee has passed on. We all know Marylee wasn't perfect. And no one knew that better than she did. But she's not here anymore to apologize to you for the many times when her legendary wisdom was not always recognized by those she loves, and who loved her, She specifically asked that I mention moments such as when she told you, and I quote, "You shouldn't have married that asshole." Why not get off your butt and get a job? Tilly's is hiring. And come to the celebration of life. Meet like-minded people. Form a strong and caring Marylee Resentment support group. Then there is actually one other, a category that actually could appear in each of the other categories. I call it the Don't Panic group. And the Don't Panic final message, which would be, Marylee, who evidently has known you so very well, and in so many ways has passed on. She asks that I make it clear to those of you receiving this message that especially in death, Marylee follows the Las Vegas rules for dying with dignity. What played with Marylee stays with Marylee. You come to the celebration of life, keep your mouth shut, quietly give everyone else the side eye, and no exchanging contact information. So given all of those, she turns again to her wrists. So you know we've talked about who, we've talked about the content, and we've really implicitly in the digital age, we have been talking about how you reach out and how there are going to be responses from people. So then we think, what are the kinds of responses there may be? How do we want to think ahead with that, okay? Well, you could always save. You can do that, you cut paste, you can save that. You also can, I'm just thinking about that, you could reply somehow back to the PWA, who I think is not looking forward to that, but still, you could reply. Or you have finally the option. You finally have control over this communication. And you hit delete. Thank you.
Well done, Mary. I think I just dropped a centric there, like a circle. Well done, well done. All right, actually, sorry. I'm the filler piece here. One of the things that happened during this class, because we were talking about death and dying, I remembered the first body when I was in psychiatric nurses training that I'd ever done up, which is the term we use in the hospital. So I was 20 years old working at Valley View Hospital. Some of you, a big smile there. Did you know that place? You knew me from somewhere, right?
Psych nursing training.
Psych nursing, right? Yeah, and I remember going in, I'm going to just call her Mrs. Jones. I remember going into Mrs. Jones's room and with her breakfast in the morning, and good morning, I'm here with your breakfast, and there was no response. And I thought, that's unusual, because she was a very friendly lady. I quite liked her quite a bit. And I went a little closer, and I noticed that she was kind of tilted to the side, and I thought perhaps she was dead. And I did check her pulse, as we do as nurses, and checked her breathing and realized that she had passed on. So the procedures are, this is many years ago, of course, but the procedures are, of course, we report it to the nurse's desk and they call the doctor. So the doctor was called and indeed did discover that she was dead and basically gave us a death certificate. And then once you receive the death certificate, then we can prepare the body. So as a new student nurse, that was my first body. I was 20 years old. This woman was really, really, really old. She was 77. We've all been there, right? Like 40 looked old at that time, right? She was I thought she was beautiful because she had this beautiful white hair and, there was a lot of things I liked about her. But now I knew that she was no longer going to be one of my patients, and it hit me hard. But when you're in a professional position, you have to maintain, your decorum, I guess you can call it, and do the procedures. And the assistant charge nurse offered to help me. She said, "I'll show you all the steps that we have to do." We'd already trained with this, but we'd only trained with, not real bodies. So this was always under real bodies. So we took care of it, and I won't go into all the details, but of course we wash the body and we dress it and prepare it and everything. And in Valley View, they have their own morgue. So, of course, once the body is ready, we put it on a dolly and take them down to the morgue. So, going through all these steps, and then what we do is we wait for the elevator to be available so that no one else gets on with us. There's just the nurses that are accompanying the body and on the elevator, so we don't want, to have the visitors all arriving on the same elevator, so we're very aware of that kind of stuff. And when those of you who have been around people who have died, whether you knew them personally or in a medical setting where you perhaps were medical person, you know that the body settles. So we took her with the dolly, got onto the elevators, myself and the assistant charge nurse, and we got in the elevator, just the two of us. And again, I'm caught up in all this. This is real. It's my first time experiencing this. And as the doors closed, Mrs. Jones's body settled, is what we call it. She smiles here. Which is very disturbing if you've not been around it. There's a lot of noises, and in her case, somehow I still don't know to this day what happened. She also shifted. And as she shifted, both the charge nurse, we'll just call her the other nurse, and I both stepped to the thing and caught her and put her back onto the dolly. But what happened at the same time was the nurse said to me, "Oh my God, you got her? She's just dead weight." And we both lifted and put her back. And all we could do was just keep it together. We were just like, and when the doors opened, we had her in the right place on the dolly. We took her down to the morgue. We signed her in. And as Ken said earlier, we had the tag on her toe so she was identified, etc., and we delivered her to where her family could come and make other arrangements. As we left the morgue and we got in the elevator, we just lost it, right? Because a little statement like dead weight, true as it was, is really funny when you're doing it that way. So that was my very first experience with a dead body, and it's always, I actually, years later, when I went back to work at Valley View, and I got on the elevator one time, I just started to laugh. I'm just like, who believes this happened? But so that was that. It all came back to me as I started to hear the stories that were coming in our class. So that's my little story for filling in for the next performer. So our next performer is going to do his story called My Trip to Antiquity. Welcome to the stage, Allan.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Yes. You folks are having too good a time. I guess I better put a stop to that, eh? My name is Guy, and I'm really getting sick and tired of people calling me the old fart. You know, you think by the time you got to 90, you get a little respect. No, still the old fart.
I'll get you to bring that up a little bit so everybody can hear you.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go repeat that though. Anyway, got tired of that label, so I thought I'd better find another one. I did some research, and I came up with nonagenarian. Yeah, nonagenarian. Try saying that 3 times real quick before you warm my coffee. Oh, okay?
Here we go. I hate remote mics. There you go.
Okay. Should I start again? No. Nonagenarian. Okay, what does a nonagenarian mean? Well, to me, it's kind of like riding a bicycle down a steep hill with no brakes. You know nothing good is going to meet you at the bottom. What does it mean to be 90? Well, for one thing, you're way too young to get a letter from King Charles. But on the other hand, far too old to care what Harry and what's-her-name are doing. So let me take you on my trip and tell you what I've learned on my trip to antiquity. Okay? Just last week, for example, Halloween, I found you don't need to wear a mask to scare little kids that come to the door. In fact, I'm getting rid of my mirrors because that wizened up old creature staring back is starting to scare me. After a few mishaps, I've also discovered that diapers aren't just for babies. And one of the important rules of an aging body is never trust a fart. Another thing I do, I don't go into antique shops anymore. There's always some salesman in there who wants to put a for sale sign on you. And then there's that sex. That's pretty well I remember, but sex kind of deteriorates into watching reruns of 50 Shades of Grey. You folks tried this online dating. Well, there's some blank looks. I know you're out there. Yeah, well, I found this senior site on the web, and at 3 levels of membership. There's the for 70s, it's for a lot of you folks here. Then there's the level for 80s, and then there's my level, which is called You Gotta Be Kidding. Not much action at that level, no. But like an idiot, I joined. And actually went on a few dates, yeah. Yeah, the first one was, well, none of it were good. But anyway, the first one was, I got really excited. So excited I forgot my hearing aids. Yeah. That was about the quietest meal I've had in a long time. I think she got it caught on when all I ordered was soup. And then when I asked her for a second date, Never did hear her answer. Then there was my last date. It's kind of embarrassing to tell you about this one. I probably should, but I need the laugh, so I better go ahead. Yeah, I was really excited. Looking forward to meeting this lady. And we got all dressed up. Made an appointment at the reservation at the restaurant. And we sat down, and all of a sudden, I realized I had forgotten my dentures. Yeah, I didn't know whether to jump up and run out the door or just sit there and play it cool. Yeah, so I stayed there. She got kind of sick of listening to someone that sounded like Elmer Fudd. And it's kind of left early. And I made up my mind that was my last date. And what really cinched it was when I overheard the staff in the restaurant said, "Well, there's old one-date old fart." No respect. Anyway, I got a few things left. One thing, my kids have been bugging me about leaving them something in my will. So I thought about this. I figured, no, I won't pay down my mortgage. And the other thing for you folks, keep 2 diaries. One diary is the true thing, tells everything that happened in your life. The other one is what you wish had happened. Let your descendants figure out which is which. Thank you.
Right, give it up for Dee. Well done, well done. Okay, both your teeth and your hearing aid on tonight, good. Check the room later, there may be something there. All right, we're going to keep it going for your next performer. Welcome to the stage, Christine Hackman, who will be doing her story, Save the Date. The clips don't fit the remote mics. But I just like watching you there. I know, it's like good. There we go. Thank you so much. Good. Good enough. Here stands Christine Ann Hackman, born January 1971, dies November 2055, hopefully. I know it takes a lot of hubris to have already picked out when my best before date is, and I didn't arrive at this lightly. Back when I decided it, I didn't know what the lifespan was going to be. Today it is 83.9 years for a female, so that puts me just at the right spot. But when I decided, it was when I was 12 years old and my grandma Hackman passed away at the ripe old age of 94, and because I had grown up knowing how much I looked like her, I just assumed in my child brain, I locked down that the exact same thing would happen to me. So, am I dripping? My apologies. There we go, let's try it anyway. No, up. There you go, okay. There you go, sorry. No problem. So I figure 84 is a good age. It's not too greedy. It's fairly optimistic. But I am reaching the point as I age where if something happens to me soon, it'll be less, well,
was taken from us too soon, and more, she had a good run. It is also very efficient that I have set in my mind what the date will be. I don't worry about the afterlife very much. I don't even worry about much in my life, because the things that, well, I want to do before the blessed event happens, I don't have to do it today or tomorrow. I have to do it next decade or the one after that. I would consider myself a faithless person. I don't have a spiritual guideline that I go by. I'm not a church person. I would say that my own spirituality is an amalgamation of optimism and superstition and narcissism. Often I really find it hard to believe in my own mortality at all. We know it's coming. My rational mind does realize that, but I think part of the reason is the career choice that I have made. I am a wig maker for film and television, and a lot of my work involves working with special effects companies, which make dead bodies for horror films and such, right? So to me, I see a lot of piles of silicone body parts covered in corn syrup blood. That takes the sting out of death for me. They'll say to me, oh, we need one eyebrow this week for the decapitated head because the werewolf eats the other side of his face. Yeah. I've actually, at my tender age of 53, I have only seen 5 dead bodies in real life, which again, in the generations gone by, you would have seen several by now. So to think that of all the people that have crossed my path, the people I have loved, the people I have known, I've only seen 5 bodies seems ridiculously small. And it's strange to think I've never witnessed a death either. I've never held a hand and felt it grow cold. I've never heard that last breath as the person I loved left their remains. But I have seen several deaths on television, as we all have, and again, that gives us that huge dissociation. Sorry, not being very funny today. It's a tough day. I lost a friend last week. Hasn't everybody? It feels like everybody I talked to has lost someone recently, so I just want to take a moment for that. Let's go on. So, let's talk about me. So when I leave behind this bag of meat and bones, I don't actually care what happens. I won't be around to see it, but I would like that my remains be treated with some amount of dignity. I hope that whoever does have to witness this, that it won't be too traumatic for them. I hope that I will leave with a smile on my face, so that they'll say, oh, she looks so good, not just, oh. And if you want to see this, I hope that whoever does lay me out leaves me looking as pristinely as possible. My mother always taught me, you don't have to look glamorous, but you do have to look presentable. So to that end, I've already picked out an outfit. It's a caftan, it'll fit no matter what happens. This beautiful white chiffon caftan with sequins, so that you will remember my sparkling personality. I would like some whimsy and chaos in my hair, so you remember my energy. I do insist that you put on my signature lip color or you won't recognize me. I would like my hands folded across my heart around a carving that my dad made. You can leave my glasses and my shoes at home. I won't be needing them. I do ask that you keep my rings on until it's time to pop me in the oven, because my hands won't look like my own without them. And I hope that when I'm remembered for the creativity that came from these hands. Why did I sign up for this? Thank you. Anyway, I do ask one thing. Please do not embalm me. I realize that for the dignity of all of us involved, you can go ahead and seal up my orifices, but don't bother changing out the fluids. That's like changing the oil on a car that's going for the scrap heap. Don't bother. I'm going to leave you with this one thought. I know, it's a quote from Moby Dick. I know not all that may be coming, but be it what it will, I will go to it laughing. but hopefully not for another 31 years. Thank you.
Give it up for Christine doing her story Save the Date. And Christine's been inflicting herself on audiences in various capacities. She actually won BC's Funniest Female not too long ago. So I'm excited to have her here sharing her story, and I hope that she'll be sharing many more for decades to come. So that's a wrap on our show. You saw, as Christine gave us her age, we have someone who's in the 50s to someone who's in the 90s, and we had everything in between in the classes. So, and I see in the room pretty much that spectrum of ages. So they gave us till the 3 o'clock, so if you would like to do a Q&A, or unless you want to all run off and get a beer or something, whatever will suit your fancy. But I do want to thank all the performers, and I just ask if they could come up and to the front here again while we thank them. So give it up for Ken Kuhn, Allan, Rosemary Sojko, Christine Hackman, and Marylee Stephenson. So one of the things about storytelling or comedy writing, we're getting the snuggle in thing,
Yeah,
so you
come on,
take a
folks.
picture. One of the things about this is that these are their own words. They did their performances the way they wanted to. We left a lot on the scrap pile because we can't bring everything to the stage, and there were lots of up and downs and emotions, and so. But I'm very proud of all these people, and I love having them in my class, and I wish, like I say, some of the others could perform as well. So, would we do it again? Absolutely. Yeah, so stay tuned when we get back. So I will just tell you, these two have been in comedy classes with me before. This gentleman was in my SFU comedy classes. Rosemary's been on stage with me in the Angst show that we did here at New Westminster. I recognize some of you were at that show, Senior Angst. And Guy's a first timer. Oh, we had to wait till the turned 90s because it's like, oh yeah, now we don't, come on, we need like a little bit of. Just one second, I'll give it to Mary. My actual comedy students range in ages 8 to 93. So if anybody's in 100 in the room, I'd like to bump my numbers up. Can you talk to me after? I'll give you a free class.
I just want to say on our behalf, and I've known Jan now since I was 60, she was 25, and she has been really building over time a huge community of both professional, semi-professional, and the rest people, both stand-up and storytelling. She does classes. This is an ad for her. You can do it. She's at Laughter Zone 101. You can look it up digitally. It'll be fine. But we recommend it. And also, we love this. I do a lot of other different things. And what we got out of this course, because it was a course, and she's quite firm with people. She's not as organized as we might want, but other than that, it was enormously worthwhile and enlightening, and obviously a rather sensitive topic. So we all thanks Jan Ban and Laughter Zone 101 for this.
Thank you. Oh, and on that note, this is to all. Is this the right one? Where is it? Wait a minute.
You see what I mean?
I know, right? Too many sheets to paper. Okay, here it is. This is from. Oh, no, that's not it. Hang on. I don't have it. I don't know. But there was a message sent to you from Erin that said how much she enjoyed being in the classes and how much she got out of it. And I think that was the overall theme of our classes. Everybody said it every week. Oh my God, it was so good to spend time together. So, yeah, storytelling is a community. We shared stories, and they all, like I said, they all started off in different places and they ended up today. So it was really, really fun. So, thank you very much, everybody.